Jesus went to dine at the home of one of the leading Pharisees, and people were observing him carefully. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Let us observe Jesus carefully. When we observe, we can be objective. When we observe something or someone, we could be objective like scientists. But when we are like the Pharisees, we have some kind of personal agenda or subjective motive. So let us, no matter how we observe Jesus with the intention of gaining something from him, objectively learning something from him, let us observe him carefully. The word carefully here in the original divine language is Greek. Observing carefully for the Greek, it was not just observing, objective observing. It was supposed to be like scrutiny, scrutinizing Jesus. In my language, the Vietnamese, it is called bắt bẻ. I'm going to explain that word to you. What does it mean? It's finding fault. You observe to find fault. And then, but for us, it is not just finding fault. For us, when you find fault of somebody, you scrutinize, you criticize, what do you do with this? You catch it and you break it. So you look at the flower, beautiful flower, you catch it and you break it. You see, you catch an animal, an insect, you catch it and you break it. So I will catch your thoughts, your word, I catch it and break it, and you're gonna feel very upset. So that's what we do when we find fault. We find fault not just to find fault, but to criticize, to condemn. And this is what they were doing, observing carefully. It sounds very neutral, but in fact, they had an agenda. They wanted to really take care of Jesus. Now, Jesus, if you read all the 4 Gospels, you know that he performed miracles or healing 7 times in all 4 Gospels. 7 times he healed on the Sabbath day. Okay, he did it and he did it on purpose, and because the Pharisees described they lay a trap for him. You know, those sick people, suddenly you're in this dinner party or feast, and then on the Sabbath they put somebody who's sick in this dinner, in the supper. Of course, Jesus when he sees he's going to heal. So they trapped him. They did that to see whether he's going to break the law. So if he breaks the law, they're going to break him. And he did break the law, so he could create a new law. Sabbath is for healing. Sabbath is for saving. Sabbath is for the Lord, for resting. When you rest, you get healed, you get health, and you be happy. And this is what God does. So people watched him. And every time he heals on Sabbath, we tend to think, oh, wonderful, Jesus healed us on Sabbath. But it made these Pharisees and the scribes, they were very angry at him. They did not like it. Okay? They rejected him, and because of this, they wanted to kill him. Imagine that. Going to church on Sunday and observing carefully the people sitting behind you, beside you, in front of you, and just want to find fault, and you go catch them and you break them, and wanting to kill them. Especially you go to church and you look at the priest, he's celebrating, and you watch him catch your fault, find your fault, and break you, something like that. We need to cleanse or purge our thoughts and our mind, and in the mind there's the one thing that makes us clean or pure. We know this is the distinction between us and the animals. It is our free will. It is not what the thoughts are, or not what we do or we say, but the will behind it. The will behind it makes us pure or dirty. Some people could live in a leprous colony like Father Damien, and he contracted leprosy, but he's a saint. Mother Teresa, lived in the slum of Kolkata, dirty, and she embraced those, dying people and lepers. She washed them. Still, she is a saint. It's the will the goodwill in the heart, in the mind. That purges us, cleanse us from the filth. It's not the external, but the internal. And then from the internal, you go to the external. As St. Paul in today's reading, you hear him as if he, his life is very different from our Catholic life. Let me read again the attitude of St. Paul. When I read his epistle to the Philippians. Some people said they make a mistake. They said the epistle St. Paul to the Filipinos. Philippines, that's not Filipinos here. They thought it was Filipinos. Okay, now he said this. I continue to rejoice. Indeed, I shall continue to rejoice. For I know that that this will result in deliverance of me. Okay, now he's saying as if his life is not just the life in the body. Okay, now to me, life is Christ and death is gain. Now, if I go on living in the flesh, wow. So it means like his life, he can live in the flesh, he can live in the spirit, he can live anywhere. So he is not just identifying himself with the body, with the flesh. So you too, we too, because his life is Christ, you can live anywhere. It doesn't have to be limited to the flesh. So let's take a look at the flesh. Okay, the flesh is not just this, carnal thing here. The flesh could be, you ask yourself, where do you live? Literally and internally and spiritually, where do you live? Well, the flesh could be, I live in food. I live in alcohol. I live in a position where I sit, a position, a status. Huh? I live there because my whole life is about status and position. That's the flesh. I live in money. That's the flesh. I live in keeping face. Okay? It's very important for me to get all the fame and the faces. People respect me because I'm going to sit here, up here, people see me. That's all that we are. But St. Paul lived in the spirit of Jesus Christ. Now, just imagine that this is the way we think in the East. We think we learn from this water, water baptism, and Jesus tend to do that. This is what God does. He went down. He is all. He's omnipotent, omnipresent. He's omniscient. He's everything. He created everything. But when he incarnated himself, he became lowly, a servant. He went down, down, down. We know it. He went down to the point that he became a servant, and his humility, and he became, went down to the tomb, died, and we went down, descended into hell. Okay, that's how humble God is. Going down there to cleanse. Really, he cleaned up hell. When he died, 3 days. And then he came up, and before he did that, he even went down, he lowered himself, incarnated himself to this holy Eucharist, wine and bread. He incarnated himself. This is my body, this is my blood. Going down. Why? Once again, to cleanse us and to feed us, to strengthen us and to give us life. That is the way of God. Just like water pouring down from the mountaintop. Just keep going down, down, down. Wherever the water touches, it cleanses, it gives life. It goes to the filthy place and it turns, the trash, the filth, into fertilizer to feed the plants, the animals, and humans. That is the nature of God. And we can see things in nature, and we can learn from nature the nature of God, the supernature. That's how God is. Always seeking the lowest place. He's teaching us that, and so we can find rest really. And we have no limit because anywhere we can fit. You see water, it fits anywhere. You see it sitting anywhere. It could be gaseous, it could be solid, it could be liquid, it could be anything, anywhere. And we are baptized in this water. It is soft, meek, humble, but nothing is stronger than water. The Spirit is in me. Okay? And we see Jesus that way. So we go to church and we find the lowest place to sit. Aren't we doing that? Catholics? In the hope that somebody, or maybe Father Michael, will go down there and bring you up here. And I try to do that, nobody did that for me. It's not that way, it is about the attitude. The attitude. You know, this is freeing. Freeing attitude, and you see, if you live like Jesus, you live like St. Paul. You know, I live but not me, but Christ lives in me. I can be anywhere, so it's so freeing. And okay, I have to share this. I have to share that. There's no fear in this kind of life, because Christ is in you. Christ is in us. And Christ is about to once again descend into this the species, okay, of bread and wine. He's going to descend into this filthy, dirty, sinful body. He's going to refresh it. He's going to strengthen it, and he's going to give life and live in it.